In one. Welcome back, faithful listeners. This is Media Files. We are back again with episode 3. Last episode, we talked about anime-inspired cartoons. This episode, we are talking about the movie that we had to watch. The recommendation of Venom we had to watch. And we're just going to talk about it. So what we're going to do is say the name of it, what it's about, and just go into, general discussion here. So the movie is called Agneepath. So Path of Fire. I don't know in what language, but
it's Hindi.
Hindi, right?
Hindi.
Yes.
It is a good movie. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
And I'm just going to say this because before I forget. But the entire time, I just kept thinking of the main bad guy. I just kept picturing him as Bane the whole time.
Bruh.
He first showed up, he was very menacing.
That
the
motherfucker
first,
was
15 minutes where he is walking to the village with 4 other guys behind him. I'm like, yo, this guy's a problem.
Yeah, that motherfucker had menacing around him.
I was like, all he's missing is the mask and the trench coat, and this is like a
synopsis,
a Bollywood movie, where it's it takes itself very seriously, but also has those moments of comedic timing, but in a lot of musicals. A lot of music.
There were easily 4 to 5 musical numbers that I can remember. But they were all enjoyable.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were.
Bad. So, Venom, how about you tell us the synopsis?
Well, it's the the premise of the story.
Into this situation.
Yeah. Well, it's a remake of a 1990 movie, another Bollywood movie. So it's just a remake. And the premise of it is that a boy who lives on a remote island with his family and in a commune, his dad is supposed to be the professor to everyone in that commune. Everyone. I don't know what sect of Hinduism they are a part of. I just know to classify it as Hinduism. And the professor is well-meaning. He's a very great guy. He cares about his entire village. All the villagers love him. And unfortunately, the village leader, technically, who looks like a glorified shaman, he sees that as a problem, and he calls his son over to help him with this problem, and he essentially murders this man in front of his son. And
that was rough to watch.
It was extremely brutal. The whole movie's pretty damn brutal. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into what it has to offer just yet. So this man murders the professor in cold blood. They stage an accident, or pin the crime of hurting an innocent little girl on the professor, even though it was his plan and he used some kids from the commune to do it. And because the professor is there, he's trying to take care of the girl. He asks his son to go for his mother to help the little girl, but then because the girl can barely speak, and they're asking her these questions, she points to the professor, and in mob mentality, everyone essentially huddles against this man and allows the newcomer, the son of the village leader, technically, to kill him. And everybody cheers for his death to the point of they revel in it. It's they were peaceful before, but then they just become
savages,
blood wanting savages.
Which I will say was kind of
weird.
Yeah, that. I will say again, movies like this you kind of have to take with a grain of salt. Certain things happen, you're really this man has been with you guys for years and done so many things, and then this one thing happened. You're like, you got to kill this dude.
Yeah, like the little girl points to him, but they're asking extremely simple questions like, "Who did this to you?" Or like, "Who was here?" or whatever, and she points at him, but the little girl is not in her right mind at the moment. But they still take her word, and it's like they go crazy, and they allow this man to get hung really badly, and this boy and his mom essentially leave this island and go to Mumbai, and the boy swears revenge on his father's murder because his father was a very peace-loving man. He was a man against violence. He was a man against revenge. So he's essentially trying to honor his dad despite him going the route that his dad more than likely wouldn't want to. And it's a story that takes place across many years where he gets into the criminal underworld, attempting to amass power for himself in order to be able to go up against this person who also apparently is trying to bring in coke into that spiritual religious island that he went to.
That was wild.
Yeah.
It was so insane. But yes, that's the premise. And there's many things that go into this movie. You see child trafficking in this.
My God, made me mad.
Yeah, you see like blatant child trafficking, mind you. It's pretty heavy, honestly. And it's
not like the back room, like dark web stuff. It's like broad daylight. How much do you want for this little girl? And I'm like, bro, somebody needs to stop this guy.
Yeah, exactly. You have that. You have doses of crime drama. You have doses of action. You have doses of comedy. Like, imagine if The Departed had 4 musicals, and at some point Leo strapped a motherfucker on the top of the truck, and it's supposed to be funny because he's fucking around with him trying to get an answer from him. Like, Bollywood, they just go crazy with their movies. I don't know how they do it, but it just works.
I think the biggest.
At first, I was worried.
Wait. Go ahead.
At first, I was worried that it was because it was 3 hours long, and then I realized how much stuff they put into it. I'm like, you really get to tackle a lot of different, like, not plot threads, but like character interactions where he's like, hey, what happens after I take out this guy's son? Do I take him out? Do I take out the next guy?
Yeah, exactly.
What happens after I like confront my mom? Oh, the mom stuff was really
yeah.
Oh, that's a whole thing.
Exactly. And of course, if you're not really well versed in this culture, some things will kind of seem strange to you just generally because you've never maybe seen that before. So it's kind of a form of culture shock sometimes, or just not understanding. There's still some places where there's some places where I'm trying to figure out maybe why this was done in the film, why something in particular was done in the film, and I may get a general outlook on it, but I also know that there might be a layer that I'm missing because I'm just not that well versed into the culture or even the Hindu religion.
Which is to say, just because we're not does not mean we can't enjoy it.
Exactly. You can still enjoy it. Enjoy it.
The movie, and I'll say this. I think the reason why it kind of felt like there was like so much going on, but it still seemed to go well, is because I feel like they have fun making these movies. And I think that's kind of a thing we're losing over here in Western culture, where it's like movies are more about money and less about, I just want to have fun. People on set want to have fun. The audience wants to have fun. Even with video games, it's less about the fun aspect and more about the monetization. Because I was watching a Overwatch 2 video and basically talking about how it literally just became a product. Like the first one was made for fans and the second one was made for executives. Like, there's no better way to put it. I think that is a good.
That's a really good way of putting it.
It worked. It worked.
Like, that is a good way of thinking about it. Where it's like, even with movies, we could talk about Disney, Pixar, all those studios. Where it's like, originally, it was just like, we just want to have fun. We know that people want to be entertained. Now it's like, the executives want movies that line up with what they think everybody wants. But it's actually,
or maybe, or hidden agendas or whatever, or whatnot, or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, it's more so like, no, you're wrong, because the vast majority of people, they want movies are an escape from reality.
Yeah.
TV shows, like, I don't know if you guys heard this statistic. I can't even say it right. But I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. They're showing that people are watching more older TV shows than new ones.
There's so many right now coming out. Like a Giancarlo Esposito show just came out.
Yeah.
Doesn't the Office get rewatched all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it's funny.
Like, they were showing where people were watching shows like The Office, Friends, The Suits was like a...
I think Netflix just got Lost.
Yeah. So, like, you have people who are opting out of watching newer stuff to go watch older stuff.
So, because
video games.
Yeah. It's like all these new shows as well. Like, I'm not going to say there's a quality problem, because like shows have gotten so good over the years. Obviously, there are some that just go bad, or some are just not good to begin with. There's always those kind, but there's so many shows coming out in so many streaming services that you can't even fucking watch them.
Yeah. Because they're not all in this one convenient place. You have to spend money across different platforms.
Yeah, like Tom Holland was on a show on Apple TV Plus. He's playing a fucking schizophrenic dude.
Who has Apple TV?
Exactly. Seth Rogen has a fucking show on there too. That was really good based on what I saw. Way different than what he generally uses. It was pretty dramatic and melancholic and everything. I'm like, dude, this shit's awesome. But
there's a Jason Momoa show on there too.
That too. And with Dave Bautista.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
A lot of stuff. It's like there's just too much saturation.
Yeah, Apple TV Plus generally does have a lot of good stuff. And they also have Severance with Adam Scott, which was like a lot of buzz on that show. Yeah, Severance. And then HBO, HBO always got that good shit, even when they have casual stuff.
Well, HBO also features a lot of older stuff as well.
Yeah, that too.
Like, I think
they got the backlog.
Yeah, like they have. I watched The Dark Knight. Like, all 3 movies are on there. You guys have a lot of stuff.
Lots of DC and Cartoon Network.
Yeah. They have so many Batman movies on there. I was like, this is heaven.
Yo, I know we're on Max and shit, but we got to get back to this Agneepath.
But basically, wrapping around to say that this is probably one of those movies that if you saw it on Netflix, basically we saw it on Netflix. It's on Netflix, so if you guys want to watch it, we recommend it. But basically, if you were scrolling Netflix and you saw it, you would not have thought twice of clicking on it. It is worth it.
It's a really peculiar movie because it feels like there's a lot of tonal shifts, but they blend really well. Like, again, like that example that I gave with The Departed. Like, imagine if The Departed had 4 musicals and fucking Leonardo DiCaprio has Jack Nicholson on top of or is one of his goons on top of a fucking band, and it's funny. It's supposed to be funny. Like, but you also have child trafficking in it. You also have drama, like a love story in there as well. You have like complicated relationships with the main character and these crime lords, and it's like insane stuff that you'll get from this movie. But at the very end of the day, it can also be boiled down to a good versus evil type of film, a story. But it's very complicated because of the main character's path in his life, the path that he takes in order to avenge his father's death. You know?
I wish I knew more about some of the culture and like the path of fire. Because his dad kept saying that. I forget the quote he says in the beginning of the movie where he's like, you can't be like a weak man and forgive others. You have to be a strong man to forgive because it takes strength to forgive people who do wrong to you, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, the path that he's walking, because like, it starts off with him being like, I think he's like 12, and you see him like, I don't know what they're doing, but it's like a festival or something. And he's the last kid running, climbing all the other kids and reaching the very top.
Mm-hmm.
And then another kid like cheats him out of his money. And he's like, you owe us all a fair share. You need to pay up. And he starts fighting him. And his dad's like, this is not the right thing to do. Even though your heart's in the right place, you're taking the wrong actions. Like you want justice, but you're not like acting in a right manner.
Yeah, like,
and the whole movie is like him like, I want to do the right thing, but I'm doing like questionable things to get there.
Yeah, he did a lot of questionable things. And he was definitely taking the long road in terms of what he was trying to do. And because of that, it's actually very similar to The Departed when it comes to like his involvement with people, but it gets a bit more deeper, I would say, than that movie when it comes to who he gets involved with because of his relation. Like, he gets involved with really bad people, but it to the point where they call themselves like, oh, you're my brother, like family, like adopted type of stuff, you know? And the main character's not really a bad person. He does ethically and morally,
just think
questionable stuff. Yeah, he's kind of like the Punisher, but not exactly like he's on a crusade to kill every criminal. He's not like that. He's on a path, very personal. And
I mean, but that's kind of the thing, though. Like the movie, before you guys even like get into it, the movie is 3 hours long. But in those 3 hours, they hash out a lot of different things. And I think that's one thing that works well with this movie is that if that time was not there to establish those relationships, establish the consequences, and kind of go through those motions, I don't think it would have been as impactful.
Yeah.
Like if a Hollywood studio tried to do this, they would cram all of that story into an hour and a half. Yeah. It'd just be a 90-minute summertime blockbuster. And it'd be like, well, that feels lackluster.
Of Endgame, but 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
kind of, that helps it though.
The tonal shift is like, it's kind of similar to the way James Gunn does his movies, but I think it's done better because the tonal shift is not just in the dialogue, but it's also in like the cinematography, the music.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be like a super serious close-up shot. His eyes bloodshot, he's crying.
But it's a musical.
The music is super dramatic. Yeah. And then it'll cut. He's like, I'm smiling, I'm happy. Like, it's not shocking to mix the two like tones, but it's very distinct.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie that I feel couldn't be done here the same way because of the culture, because of their culture. And it like Indian, I mean, obviously there's many people like this, but Indians in particular, like, they're very spiritual, and a lot of their beliefs and customs are pretty permeated into their entertainment as well, from songs and film. So and you'll see that with this film, it's like, just like we talked about the premise, like it starts off in a village / commune where there's a professor, and he's supposed to be like the one that gives people the education. He's the one that's supposed to be steering them to the right path, not just the right path on earth, but also the right path in their spiritual journey. You know, you see him
He like
do it with his
quotes
son.
Gandhi and MLK.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like he's a very good man, but I will say that throughout the course of the movie, even his son has to wrestle with his dad's own beliefs because of what he has to do, and because of the way the world can be and how the world is.
Well,
so it of course takes his dad's words and philosophy seriously, but it also juxtaposes it with all these various things happening. So it's like, how do you get to do this when these things are around you? It's very frustrating. And I think it's pretty realistic too, because I think many of us can identify with that, where we're trying to make sense of how to follow God's path, but then you get into these sticky, complicated situations. Even if they're not necessarily a dangerous situation, you're still trying to figure out, okay, this is right, but like, how does that conflict? There's a lot of conflict in this film, and that's what's so good about it.
That's what I was about to say, because I think, and Mammoth, you kind of hinted to this earlier, but there is a lot of conflict, not just with him and other people, but even in his own family. Like the bit with his mom. Like, I think a lot of us would be like, you know, your son is doing everything he can to avenge the wrongful death of your husband. And it's like, you disown him. You tell him this isn't the right way. But it's like, you also see, like, because you see it from both sides, but you more so see it from the main character side, because it's like, okay, I'm doing everything, but you're not necessarily doing anything to correct this wrong. So
exactly.
So you see it from her point of view, like, I don't want you to turn into this monster, but it's like, for him, it's like the only way to make things right is to be what I don't want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's like resolved himself to this path. There's like a line where he says, I'm already following my father's path. There's nothing else I can do.
Yeah.
And I think this is before where they have like their big conflict, and she's like, she slaps him, tells him to get out, and he's like crying. He's like, Mom, why don't you understand this? That was a really sad moment.
Exactly. Like, it's very sad. And I think it kind of, and upon the second rewatch, I think it made me realize that maybe the movie kind of calls into question cultural / religious beliefs on what the right thing is. And sometimes it's not that simple.
Yeah.
Because say what you want to say.
I hate not knowing everybody's name. I only remember the main character, Vijay.
Yeah, Vijay.
But the bad guy, the son, who introduced cocaine to the village.
That dude just came out of nowhere.
At the end of the movie, he had a line where he's like, "These people have already chosen their god. They've chosen the devil." And I was like, "Holy shit!"
Dude, the movie was like so like over the top by that time, and that's one thing Bollywood does. They can be over the top. This movie is not an exception. By the end of it, you're watching like an anime movie, and that's also partly why I recommended it, because by then I felt like I was watching a hyper realistic version of an anime or something. It was weird, but it works.
It felt like that when he fought the trafficker guy. I was like, this choreography feels very anime, like the hero getting a showcase.
The funny thing is, like, I was like,
sometimes it made me laugh.
But that's like the blend of genres. It's a comedy, musical, drama, action. They blend it so well because it tells a full story. Now, the most important thing, listeners, is we're not going to tell you everything that happens in it. We're just giving you like bits and pieces. We recommend you go watch it yourself.
Yeah,
if you've already seen it,
watch for yourself.
Yeah,
if you've already seen it, awesome. If you've already seen it, great. You get to hear more people talk about it.
If you've already seen it, go rewatch it.
Go rewatch that shit, because it's actually pretty fucking good.
get your friends together. You can Netflix and chill. I don't know.
Trust me, that movie's a good time with friends. It really is.
I just had a thought about why the stories like the movies like plot progression works is because it's not here's an action thriller about this guy. It's just here's this guy's life. Here's his love life. Here's his family life. Here's his professional life. Like it's about this guy in all aspects of his life.
Exactly.
Like, and that's why it works, because he feels like a real character, like a real person.
And that's how the other characters feel too, even with limited screen time. Which goes into the acting. The acting is actually really, really good.
It is. I mean,
really good acting.
I think we can say that all aspects of this movie are either decent or very good. So
it has a lot of heart.
Yeah, like I don't think there's, for me personally, I don't think there were really any cons to it. Like even though the movie was 3 hours, it didn't feel like it. It felt like the 3 hours was necessary.
Yeah, the film breezes those 3 hours.
It goes by quick, but it's like you're satisfied. Like we're not going to spoil too much or the ending, but you feel satisfied by the end of it. You might be crying by the end of it.
Extremely.
Yeah, it's sad.
But it fits, it makes sense, and it all boils together. Because again, this is just like how you said, man, this is this guy's life. It's like a TV show. Like with TV shows, it takes, you follow this person multiple episodes, like how their daily lives are, what type of things they go through. I will say this. His glow up was, my man worked out.
Yeah,
I made note of that too. He was definitely
he transformed himself.
Lifting everything and anything heavy. And I was like, good man.
Yes.
At the end of the movie, he had some rope around his arms, and I was like, yo, he looks jacked.
He looks so jacked because the pump was just getting in there from the rope.
I was like, there's such a sad thing about Western culture. Nowadays, people don't even go to that extreme for roles anymore. Now, not saying that that's like healthy or anything, but it's like they get into character. They literally become the character. You don't need CGI muscles.
This actor became he became the character in this movie.
You can go to the gym for like 30 minutes a day, eat right, and you'll be the character that needs, like, you don't need the overly wasting CGI money on fake biceps.
Yeah, you don't need that.
If there was CGI in Agneepath, I don't know where it was.
I know where it was. It was in the explosions at the end when he somehow I was dying laughing the first time I saw that scene. I was like, how the fuck? Spoilers. This is more so for like people that have already seen it. We clearly recommend it. Go see it after this. Like, we're talking some spoilers here, but dude, at the end, this motherfucker blew up everything. Like, he found out he had bombs for everything, and it was like, yo, what the I was laughing so hard. And, like, the movie completely changed. He was everywhere and nowhere. And then all of a sudden he's in this motherfucker's lair, this clearly comically evil villain's lair. And then they start having an anime fight. Like, dude, they did the hand thing that Dragon Ball Z does, and I was like, yo.
Oh, you mean the double overhand, like, hit you?
Yeah, like, they're grabbing each other's hands, like, they have their hands clasped with each other's, and they're, like, trying to push each other, and it was like, yo, what the fuck? This shit is crazy. What's happening?
Dude, the movie just went, like I said, they just had fun with this.
They went crazy at the end.
And that is okay. Like, that is, they were like, you know what, we got to end it with a bang. And they literally did.
This movie has so much, that made the movie have so much more emotional payoff by the end. It's insane.
Yeah. And again, listeners, when it comes to movies, again, it is the journey and the payoff. If you don't get time invested into the characters, you don't care what happens to them. When in this movie, we cared. We were invested in the main character's journey, his interactions, the people he was with. There were some sad parts.
Plenty of sad parts.
A lot of sad.
There was
A lot of happy.
A lot of sad. A lot of
It's a
happy.
roller coaster.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how like after the middle of the movie, Concha is like he like becomes the most comically evil villain like ever.
He's just Bane.
He's over there like in the fucking chair, like just fucking sitting there, just figuring out like what his next evil move is gonna be. The whole fucking room is like black and fucking depressing, and it's like, dude, this fucking lair is so obviously evil. It's so funny. Like it's so funny, but like it still works somehow. There's also a dichotomy of good versus evil with like the clothing. You have
He always wears black.
yeah, he always wears black, and the J has the white.
Yeah, I think he's always in a white shirt.
He's
But it's
always
like
in a white
dirty
shirt.
white shirt because he's like doing stuff.
Yeah,
Which is more
But-
realistic.
more realistic, but the characters and you yourself know that this guy is good, so that's a good way to do it. Like even though it's such a simple wardrobe, he gets the message across. And I don't know about you guys, but Concha literally was giving me some Frieza vibes, man. Y'all saw that scar in the back of his head? I was like, yo, Frieza?
Yeah.
I'm still going with my Bane analogy.
By the way, that dude actually went to the gym and bulked up for the role as well.
I could see it. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
He
listen,
was very menacing.
yeah, like listen,
Very.
you have to understand. You can tell when someone is actually working for what they have versus just being given it with like
He was-
special effects. Like these men, they worked hard for that.
They did.
That is mad respect. Because
And no, that's good. Finish.
because at the end of the day, you want authenticity, people. Authenticity, not we're just gonna slap CGI all over it. You don't want that.
And I do know it's ironic. I know it's ironic that we say we want authenticity from an actor, but you guys know what we mean. You want an actor that's going to put the actual fucking work, especially for material that's good like this. And I mean, they hit it out of the park. Every single actor, minor role or major role, they all did their thing. If you watch Bollywood movies, you may see some familiar faces in there. The main character is a pretty renowned Bollywood actor, from what I understand as well.
Yeah. When I looked them up on
I was surprised to see Priyanka in there.
So pretty.
bruh.
It's not even funny how pretty she is.
Oh my god. Stop.
I know. She looks like Eva Mendes.
Well,
Wait a minute.
wait, what?
As the girl, the love interest, she looks like Eva Mendes.
Oh.
To me, anyway. I just realized that. She's just she got a little bit more meat on her, but she's not in a fat way. She just, Eva Mendes is a bit more thinner.
Mm.
But even the love story goes hard, and it's sad because it's like, damn, this, like, she loves him so much, and he's over there so
Angry.
he's so angry. He's guts essentially, like at the moment, and he's like, he just can't. He doesn't want to get her involved in his world, even though it's clear that he loves her as well.
Vengeance.
His sister.
I almost teared up when he was like, where they were like confessing to each other, essentially. I don't want to spoil what they say, but he's like, why don't we take yours and we'll take mine and see what's there. If you guys know what I mean, he had a little tin can in the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil, but it's such like it's such a cute moment.
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, like, we're gonna talk about the movie. I mean, I gave him a little warning about spoilers anyway. So,
Well, for the most part, we do have to move on to our next segment,
But we highly recommend.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, 100%.
I will say for this,
I want to rewatch it.
It's really good.
I was also going to say it also makes me more willing to try other movies like it. Because I feel like Bollywood movies kind of get a negative rap. They
get a bad rap. I mean, sometimes I understand where some people come from.
Yeah.
But sometimes a good movie is just a good movie.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I think a lot of times it's more so like, just give it a chance. Like if you're willing to go on Amazon Prime, which I'm guilty of, and watch Komodo Dragon versus Cobra, then you're willing to watch this.
If you're willing to watch, movies, if you want to watch all of Game of Thrones, fuck that. Go watch this. Go watch this.
We lost half of our listeners just by saying that.
Don't be afraid of foreign films.
That is a good point.
Yeah,
for a while I was like, I don't know if I can watch something in a different language or with a different culture and understand it.
But then we watch anime.
Then you watch anime.
Because
although to be fair, animes don't usually follow like a pre-existing culture. There's like elements, but it's like, hey, we're in this world that doesn't exist.
It is.
A lot of anime is like that, unless they're like slice of life and they get more into the Japanese culture. But you have nuggets of that in like even stories like Naruto or Bleach. It's as little as it is.